Welcome back to another amazing client launch episode. We got my man, Brandon Adalid, in the house, the author of Formulation U, which is something that I'm really excited to dig into in this episode because, this is a guy, all right, that came in and said, I'm about to do this thing. He did it. He did it fast. He did it well. And he has defied expectations. And so it's going to be really awesome as we dig into this conversation, Brandon, to hear more about what is Formulation U, what was the process, and all these amazing things. So welcome to the show, Brandon. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Jake. Happy to be here.
Awesome. I'm happy you're here too, man. Like
Oh,
it's fun. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, we met at the time of this recording about a year prior at an event. And where was that? In Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina, all began
We,
there.
we met there and then we stayed in touch. And then a few months later, you came to my live event. And then 6 months after that, your book was launched and topping the charts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So So it's been a whirlwind. All right. This has all happened within a year. So talk me through this. Have you always wanted to write a book, or when did you realize that writing a book was something that you wanted to do?
it, to really go back, it all delved in there around the spring, summertime of 2022, even like months before that Charlotte event. I had the thought, and it was I knew that I could do it. I knew I had a story to tell and to put out there because health and wellness, I gotta be honest, like that is the true the true wealth. Because if you could have all the wealth, but if you don't have that health to enjoy it, it's just, you're there's just that part that's missing, and I think it's just such a important cog, um to just live your life as you want it to be. And um yeah, so to answer your question again, the spring summer time around 2022 is when it really kind of just like, the seed was planted in my head. But I
Well, it
like
was So it was like a fairly recent thing for you. It's not like you'd been wanting to write a book forever. It was just
no.
you had gone through some stuff and then you were like, okay, I'm kind of getting this call in, this feeling, this inkling to write a book. What made you? Because here's the thing. We talk to people all the time. People want to write books for a decade, 2 decades, three
I
decades,
know.
but they don't take that action because of whatever their fears are, their limiting beliefs. And I get it, right?
Yeah.
What made you feel so confident in yourself to be like, okay, summer of 2022, I have this idea. Fall of 2022, I meet someone who can help me. March of 2023, your book is in production. September of 2023, October 2023, your book's launched and around the globe. How did you decide, and what made you decide to take action so quickly, even though it was your first book?
It's just a high passion that you have in your heart. I have a this is a deep rooted thing with me because I was the chubby kid growing up in elementary school. I got teased. I was um you know and I remember all those instances, like, you kind of remember it, like like vibrantly, those incidences back when you're just like a young boy. Um and I knew like fitness and human movement was such a big essential part of anyone's life. And even at a young age like that, I knew fitness was important. So that's why I knew I could come up with content to write a book such as this. And back in March, I talked to you about, like, briefly, before the event ended, and I knew I could do the work. That wasn't the problem. It was just the step-by-step guides to, like, the stuff that, the behind the scenes part of, like, processing a book. That was my Achilles heel. But to come up with the content and the rough draft, that wasn't a problem for me. I knew I had enough in me to come up with that, and that was the best for me. I know for some authors can speak for themselves, but for me, the rough draft was the most favorite part of the process for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's take a step back here.
Yeah.
You talked about, some of these experiences that you had that really, changed your life and inspired you to write this book, right? Your book's Formulation You. Tell everybody what the book really is all about and what is Formulation You.
Yeah, I hope I can get this within a few minutes. I when I first started writing the book, I thought I was just going to rewind back to when I started the lifestyle program that I was doing like 5 years ago. But I really dialed it back to like in my high school days where it all began. It's like we're talking about 30 years in the making, like back to the spring of 1993. And that all the experiences that I went with high school football, and then like blowing out my knee after football, and going through a knee injury, and to recover from that, and to learn how to rehab, and then like going through the breakdown of like gaining weight, and then like figuring out how to lose the weight. Through the whole process was just you know, it was an educational, it was like one step at a time that I went through in each like 5 year increment. And it really was just like, and when I went back to college to get my a physical education degree, that was another like key moment of like education, and like realization of like, hey, here's what to do to keep youthful students moving, and like getting them involved. And as I went through that experience, I that was just more knowledge and under my arsenal. And then attempting transformation after transformation, losing weight, yo-yoing up and down with weight issues. And then fast forward into the mid 2000s or 2015 and all. That's where it really hit home, because I was trying to I was doing long distance running with participating in half marathons, and my body gave way. And then no matter how much I rested, it was just um, my body couldn't recover, and I had to start over. And I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? So um, it all boiled down to the nutrition. And once I changed the nutrition and changed the mindset, that's when it all just like the light just came on.
Yeah. And so it sounds like, I mean, one of the things that's really cool about the way you've kind of built your book is you look back at all these experiences that you just shared, and you tackled what were the things that worked and that didn't work, and ultimately it boils down to like three core areas, right?
Yeah.
And what are like, I think I heard them, but I want to hear you articulate it, is like there are three main areas that you believe create the formulation of you, right? And the
Right.
formula of you. And so what are really those three things that everybody should be focusing on, or that everybody needs, that will help them create the most optimized life for themselves?
Well, first of all, it's the mindset. I'll say the three things that the three areas I covered in the book. It's mindset, your spiritual, and your spirit and your emotions, and then comes the physical. And I described that in that chronological order in the book, where I spent a few chapters on mindset in the beginning, and I drove home the point that you know you could attend motivational speaking sessions, and you could like look up to personal trainers, and see what programs they do, and eat what they eat. But if your mind is not on the right place, it's going to be for what not, because you got to be in it for you. You cannot be in it, so to speak, to show other people or to prove other people. Because if you do that, you're kind of like you're forcing the issue versus just like having the transformation happen organically and gradually over time. And I speak about this um uh A to Z process in the book, where people want to get to Z, X, Y, and Z so fast, but they're not working on A, B, and C first. And I think you got to embrace the process, that the transformations is transcendent. It takes time to develop. and then comes your spirit. And that's once your mindset's there, your spirit and emotions will kind of like just fall into place, so to speak, and you start treating people in a more positive vibe, and people start looking at you differently, they start feeling you differently. And then comes the physical, where you're just doing the consistent work of constant meal prepping, and just having the food work for you. And I put a phrase in the physical part of the book where it's like, more commands and less demands, because the more you can have food command your body what to do, the better off you'll be, versus if you're eating food that makes your system demand the work, and to demand the metabolism or metabolism of your body. It's going to go for whatnot. So I focus on that really well, and drive home the point of, you know there's a lot of physical work on the physical end, but it really is your mental and your spiritual emotions that will drive your transformation.
It's interesting as you break all this down, because when I think about almost every area of life, right? There's always these three components. There's the mindset, the spiritual side, the physical side, right?
Right.
And especially when we're talking about optimization, peak performance, when we're talking about health, when we're talking about being able to be a better CEO, all of these things, like I think about growing a business, right? The mindset, you have to step into that identity. You have to not just hear and be inspired, but you have to do and take the action. You have to become that person. Then you
Oh
have to
yeah.
make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And then you have to make sure that you're moving your body, right? And you have to do the work, right? And a lot of that's nutrition mixed with movement and all of these different things. I want to talk to you because you've been able to take the experiences over the last 30 years, boil it down into a formula to create an optimized life, which led to the book, right?
Yes.
Throughout this process, what would you say? I know you mentioned the rough draft earlier, but what would you say was probably your favorite part about going through the program and having the step-by-step instructions?
you know this can also correlate to other things, especially with business, right? I mean, the community, to me, because when I first initially signed up with your program, I envisioned it just like me and you at a few calls, like once a month, and then all of a sudden I started seeing all these emails, and I'm like, oh, this is very good. This is a weekly thing, and then I got to see and meet with like-minded authors and cohorts, and that was huge for me. I mean, you were great, but as the head honcho, you can only do so much. And the community with the fellow authors was golden, because it enabled me just to reach out and just pick their brains. Like, we're all walks of life, right? So um it just interacting and finding out there was a more like other authors that live here in Southern California. And it was nice to meet up with them like after the event, and then getting to know people that are in Texas and in Scotland, of all places, and in like, in the East Coast and the Atlantic. So it was great to just you know get ideas from them, and have them carry us as we went through this journey.
Yeah. And you did a great job throughout the program of, using all the resources and showing up to the calls and meeting all of these amazing people
Oh,
that
I
were
needed
working on the
it.
book at the same time. And so, there's a method to our madness, right? We know the process of what it takes to get the book done. We know how important community is, and we wanted to make sure that you had that. But let's fast forward here. You use the community, you're showing up, you're getting ready. All of a sudden, the book is no longer just like an idea. The book is, holy shit, I'm about to release my first book. Talk to me about the emotions that you felt when you started planning your launch and you started getting ready for your launch? Like, what was that like? And then talk to me about
Ah,
how it felt to launch the book.
man, it was those days, those days leading up to September 30th. September 30th was my launch, and I actually published around September 11th, September 12th. So I had those days like going in there, but just the emotion of it all. And I think I did talk about this with you, because once the editor comes, like, brings your manuscript back, you see all those red marks, and it's just marked up all over the place. And then all of a sudden, when those 1 or 2 weeks go by, you read through, and you just accept the changes, and it started to look like a book. And I'm just like you said, like, holy yes, it's looking like a book because there's no more marks. Then the formatter gets it. Then the formatter does her thing on it, and she sends back the manuscript to you, and then it's like, oh, that really looks like a book. So I got the butterfly jitters going on, and it's I can correlate it to my time in football, when when it's game day, that game feeling. I know you played basketball back in the day, during your school years, and it's just that build up, that anticipation. And then when the launch came around, that's when it felt like, oh man, this is really happening. I had two scheduled meetings at my workplace to tell them about the book, and like, there was a morning crew and then a evening crew, and then in between those meetings, I actually had my book launch. And just seeing people like coming out, like, supporting me, is like, I have so much gratitude for that. People, my former colleagues that I haven't seen in, like, years, they came out to the book launch, and they reunited. And it was like fellow teachers that I used to work with. And then I had a combination of like high school classmates and junior high classmates, and then they got to meet my former colleagues. And then it was really cool to see, because it was like they were talking to each other as if they already knew each other for like 5, 10 years. And to have that come together because of what I did, and because what I put out, and it was so cool, so
Yeah.
cool. I was so grateful for those moments.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, it's really cool to see because one thing we always talk in the program is it's bigger than a book, right? It's bigger than a book,
Oh,
and what you just shared is the epitome of that. Because yeah, you wrote the book, right? You had your personal emotions, you went through yourself, you put it all together, but then you got to bring people from all experiences of life, all walks of life, all backgrounds, all careers, all different phases of your life. And you got to bring all those people together and to foster that new connection, create that spirit, and create that environment for people to succeed. And now you're getting people all the time reaching out and being like, hey, I'm doing things differently because of your book. I'm meal prepping a little bit. I'm doing this. I'm rewiring my brain. I'm feeling great about everything. And so
yeah.
I think it's really, really awesome because you committed to the process. You trusted the process, something that I really appreciate about you, and you got your shit done. Your book is done. Your book is out. Your book is changing lives. And what was an idea a year and a half ago is not only just done, but it is your true reality. And you are able to move forward and to continue to build and continue to inspire and continue to impact. And man,
Oh,
that is a beautiful thing.
it is. It truly is. My boss, he bought a book, and then like, this is like, the stuff that you can't put a price tag on. And he said, "Oh yeah, I got my book the other day." And then my wife told me, "You don't read books. What are you doing?" And then he ended up telling, "Hey, this is a coworker of mine. He wrote a book." And then the wife had such a great reaction. It's like, "What? He did what?" So you actually know this guy? He's an author? And he's like, "Yeah, he's an author." And to hear that is like, and he's like, "I'm on chapter 3 now." And then like, and you don't read a book.
That's
And
amazing. That's
amazing.
amazing. So, Brandon, here we're getting close to wrapping up. There's a part in your book that I know you are really passionate about, and that comes around the idea of meal prepping, cooking, nutrition. That's a big part of optimizing your life. Talk to us a little bit about meal prepping, and because a lot of people that listen to this are either authors, aspiring authors, people that are entrepreneurs, experts that are busy, family people, right? Like that's who's listening right now.
Yeah.
And I'm I want to know as well, because when you're busy, one of the first things that's easy to slide is your meals. If you're like, oh, I don't have any meals today, I'm gonna order in. Oh, I don't have this, I'm gonna go get Chipotle or whatever. And not saying Chipotle is bad, but you love talking about meal prepping, and it's something that has been really transformative for a lot of your readers and for yourself. So real quick, I'd love to hear a little bit about how you encourage people to meal prep and what your process is so that people can still eat good, but also feel good.
Yeah, just to make it quick here, because I could ramble on with this one topic, but meal prepping, I've been cooking since the year 2000. So we're talking about like almost 2.5 decades of me just like fumbling through the kitchen and just having recipes fail and having recipes succeed and like building off that. It's a process. You just don't, I mean, if you can force it and you can just go in there and like, do it. But then, like you said, like life happens. You got kid, if family, family men and family women having kids, like how do they juggle that with like little toddlers going around the kitchen? So, and then you got the issue of picky eaters. So like my one number one advice is just to take it slow and just take things that you can just really handle gradually and just build from there. And then I'm sorry, Jake, sorry about that. Yeah, you just build from there, and to take it one step at a time, because if you try to force it, it's just going to become too overwhelming. It's kind of like going to the gym. If you're going to the gym and just pounding out like hours upon hours, and then all of a sudden you give up because it's just too hard. And it's the same thing with meal prepping. You take it one step at a time, take something that's manageable. And if you're if you have a spouse involved, try to get him or her working along in tandem, so that way you feel involved with this process.
I love it. I love it. And people can learn more about that in the book. So, Brandon, how do we connect with you? How do we continue to learn from you? And where can we get the book?
Yeah, you can get the book right on Amazon. I got it right here.
There it is. There it is. Formulation You, baby. We
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
great. You can connect. Instagram is the one of the platforms I use a lot. It's just my first name, Brandon _ Adalid, and then underscore again. And that's you could also look me up in Facebook. I'm also there, and especially LinkedIn. I'm trying to get into LinkedIn once again, like with that event that we had. So I gotta touch that up. So those three platforms I am visible on.
I love it. I love it. And we'll get those connected here in the show notes for after this episode. So, before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. I know that I've had a blast having you be part of the Big Idea to Bestseller program. I know that it's awesome to see your transformation, both as part of your identity and who you've become, but also in terms of the confidence and the impact that you're having on the world. So thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. And for everybody here that just listened to this episode, the challenge that I'm going to give you today is I want to challenge you to create the formula that works best for you. All right. Brandon laid out some of the core concepts that has worked for him over 30 years of trials and tribulations, weight gaining, weight loss, meal prepping, overwhelm, gym usage, and all these other things. And so my challenge to you would be, think about what would be your optimal life. What areas of your life do you find yourself needing the most improvements? What areas of your life do you feel that nudge inside of you, encouraging you to get help in certain areas? Because we are all capable of performing at our highest level. And it begins by reading Brandon's book. So I hope that you all enjoyed this episode, and I will see you on the next one.